Hi everyone, my name is Mark and I work as a Google Cloud Solutions Architect. Today I'm joined by Michal from Aiven and I'm excited to discuss about 5 tips for developers and startups should consider when developing data services for cloud. So hey, without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Michal and he's going to introduce himself and Aiven and the 5 tips. Michal.
Thanks, Mark. Hi everyone, my name is Michal Jablonski and I'm a partner solution architect at Aiven. At Aiven's mission is to make developers' life better and help them build better applications. We do this by providing a fully managed open source data platform with cloud services such as OpenSearch, Cassandra, Postgres, MySQL, and you can deploy them on several different clouds, including GCP.
Thanks, Michal. It's a great introduction. So, let's not waste any time. Let's dive straight into the 5 tips. So tip number 1, take it away.
Sure. Thanks, Mark. Okay. Tip number 1, beware of hidden costs. If you think about managed database, it's great. I mean, it's extremely cost and time effective. The reason for this is that you basically outsource the whole maintenance to a third party. Now, talking about the costs, when you will be doing your cost analysis and while choosing your database provider, factor in hidden costs, and they can be in different areas. Now, my favorite example is bandwidth. Some cloud providers will give you free upload. That means you can upload as much data as you want, and you won't pay a penny for this. But the minute you decide to move the data from the cloud to the internet or migrate to a different region, you might end up paying a hefty price. So remember, always read the fine print and look for hidden costs.
That's some great advice, Michal. So, cloud services are constantly expanding and developing new features. And I think that takes us nicely into tip number 2. So tell us about tip number 2.
Yes. So know what you're good at and know what your skills got. And tip number 2 is know what you don't know. What do I mean by this? Okay, you can be a Kafka magician. You can be running Postgres for years, but there can be some aspects that maybe you don't like it or you're not an expert in. Let's say schema optimization or maybe server patching. Maybe they're just not your cup of tea. And that's fine. I mean, you don't have to be an expert in everything. Look, providers such as Aiven and Google Cloud, they have teams such as professional services that can always help you with those issues. But what's here important is that you are aware of those limitations. You know what you don't know.
Again, another brilliant tip. Aiven has had tremendous growth in the last few years. And part of that journey of building services which customers know and trust. Cloud platforms create the opportunities to build highly available services, but still it's important to set clear expectations, right? So what are your thoughts on this?
Mark, let's talk about downtime. And that brings me to the third tip, which is define acceptable downtime. And Mark, I hope you will agree with me here that there's no reasonable person who would say, hey, you can get a service with SLA with 100% of uptime. There's not such a thing. When you go out and look for a service provider, you will see SLA starting somewhere around 99.9%. What does it really mean? 99.9% means that your service provider guarantees you that the service will be down by maximum of 45 minutes within a month, not more. Okay? From there, you will see that the downtimes or uptimes really they will go only up. So you can get an SLA with uptime of 99.99%. We call this for nines. You can get 5 nines. And yes, it's 99.999%. And you see, people would ask me, why can't you just go with the highest possible SLA? Why just define acceptable downtime? The answer is simple. There's no free lunch. You get a higher SLA, you pay more. It's just more expensive. So really think, how important is your database? How important is your service for your revenues, for strategy of your company, of your startup? And then correlate this with the SLA of the service.
Yeah, I mean, again, great advice. I mean, one question I get a lot, Michal, is as a Google Cloud Solution Architect, is the vendor lock-in, right? Like, luckily, this isn't such a difficult question for me to answer typically with, Google having such strong foundation with the open source community and services such as GKE and Kubernetes. How do you tackle this question at Aiven?
Okay, tip number 4, be aware of vendor lock-in. Aiven is a great product. It's a true multi-cloud platform. And what does it really mean? It means you can deploy any of your favorite open source solutions on these 5 different clouds. Now, let's say you have let's say Postgres running on one of the clouds, and you decide you want to switch from it to another. Sure, you can do it 5 mouse clicks away, and you just switch from one cloud to another. Now, how is it possible? It's because we as a platform, we're super flexible, and we achieve this by having solutions, only open source solutions. Now, be aware that if you go with a single cloud provider, you may be constrained to this one cloud. This may or may not be a problem for you, but be aware that vendor lock-in exists.
Yeah, as you say, Michal, it's important to plan for the future as well. I mean, this is exactly why Google has developed services like BigQuery Omni that allowed you to build data warehouses in multiple clouds, right? So talking about planning for the future, I think that takes us into the final tip, right?
Indeed, Mark, indeed. And tip number 5 is plan to grow together. Listen, truth is, your business will grow. You will sell more products or services. And probably you will need more services on the cloud, or maybe you will want to scale up your current services. And the thing is, I hope you have great relations with your service providers. If not, the great relations with your providers are the key. You see, Mark and I, as well our solution architects colleagues, are here to help you. We are here to guide you from a maze of different solutions that we offer. And it's very important that you look for a great fit between you and the service provider. A bit similar as it is in recruiting.
Well, Michal, I think that's a great place to end our conversation today. We really look forward to hearing everyone out there. Please reach out to the Google Cloud and Aiven community. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, everyone.